Let's see if I can get this out, because there's just so much that I become aware of. It's ridiculous. And this has to do with, I want to keep this in perspective and a tight focus. Erasers, or if you will, when you're running a calculator, minus/plus, because I knew as a child, what is it that I want to put into memory? Who is the ultimate, if you will, author of your journey? This is where sometimes, even in the spiritual community, I get insulted. And the reason I get insulted is like, listen, my soul, and I knew this as a child, I'm an oversoul, okay? I'm a polarity integrator, okay? When you're on a spiritual battlefield, you have to understand that it's an invisible landscape. It's not what you look like, okay? So when other communicators are communicating what they're aware of, to me, now I'm aware of what they're aware of. Okay, so when you realize that you're running on RAM, read access memory, which means it's like a filing system, just like a computer. You're choosing what to put in RAM and what not to put in RAM. That's why you have deletion, which is minus. It's going the other way. You're the chooser of your experiences because you're the author of your life book. Okay? So that's why when I was a child growing up, I'm going, there's your journey, there's my journey. Now, if you're going to try and tell me that the journey that you're on is the one I'm supposed to be on, then I'll cut my head off, put it on your head, and then you can tell me how I'm doing. Okay? That means they're imposing their will on you. Love doesn't do that. The law of one does not do that. Okay? So you can imagine as a child growing up, and I'm sorting the terrain with all the other antenna terminals, all the other computer terminals that are communicating with me. But what I'm actually doing is I'm reading what's called signals intelligence. Anybody that's in the Marine Corps, who is in the United States Army or the Air Force, knows exactly what communications are and how important it is using antennas. So I knew that my soul was operating a radio set. You want to be running a clear channel. That's no distortions. Now you can get into the 12 by 12, the original 12-strand DNA, and 144,000 frequencies. Activate all 144,000 frequencies. Those are called codes. Just like the Navajo code talkers, and it's never been broken. So when you are what love is, which is a high-speed vibration, which is known as torque speed, okay, I have to decide what it is I'm going to address, what it is I'm not going to address, and why I knew as a child to keep my mouth shut. Why is that? Because otherwise, as an outlier, when you realize you're on a spiritual battlefield, there he is. Because everybody that's got two eyeballs is running a camera surveillance, right? And they will upload that information. And guess where it goes? Into their database with the AI. That's why security protocols are necessary. Okay? So start with that. So I was listening to a broadcast yesterday with a lady that I post a lot of her videos, which is Wake Up Africa. Yeah, because I've been trying to wake everybody up since I was 5 years old. But she mentioned something, and sometimes because there's so much information that is related to so much other information, which is related to so much other information, it would be impossible to include all the information that is connected to all the information, which is called a tree. The tree of creation. That's a lot of branches. That's a lot of information. There's no way that you could experience all that information, know how it's all connected, so we have a much larger perception of the context in which it's being experienced. Right? So that's why it's impossible to qualify every single thing that I say, or that anybody else says, because it's going to be connected to a lot of other experiences that are experienced by others with their antenna, which is a DNA antenna. Put that in perspective. So you could see how this was as a child growing up in the 1950s. I call it navigating the terrain, which is navigating a planetary consciousness terrain, and you realize, my God, this place fell. Pipes over the head. Get it up, get it up, get it up. Get it up, get it up, get it up. Right? Break through. Getting out of negative space, baby. Right? Which means returning to the law of one, which is what love is. Love is a law. Right? And as simple as that may sound, it really is that true, because if you don't love what it is that's in your mirror, chances are that mirror is not going to last very long, which is your universe. So if you know that you're at the center of a universe, which is the center of a sphere, which is the center of a sun, which is the center of a cell, right, that is mostly water, you want that water to be in balance, right? So that you're in balance. You're experiencing being in a state of peace. So when you're in a state of peace, then I don't have to worry about you doing something to my energy, right? So what happens is I'm navigating through the terrain from the time I was a little boy, right? But when you're androgynous, it means you're in balance. You're mated. That's one chip. That's the law of spheres. That's the law of one. So when you already know future proves past, back to the future, so your children have a future, then you already know that your children have a future. And how do you know that? Because the one is here. That's how you know. And that's why you can't be fooled no matter what anybody else says. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't agree and say, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. But I also realize there's a difference between what you experience, what I experienced, it is, and what that is. Why is that? Because anything that's less than what love is less than what I am. That's the law of one. So you know there's a lot of Neos in here, right? People that run on a love vibration. That means they're running the law, highest law. They're the law. And I actually was honored that they honored the law of one. A couple of years ago, right down the road here in La Poi Hoi, I was living out of a tent right on the beach, you know, rocking the cradle. You know, Waterworlds, born out of Waterworlds. And, you know, in the womb of a goddess, just like the womb of a mother, right? Eve, the womb of a mother, Eve, the womb of the mother that you came out of, right? So anyway, this was when the hurricane was going to hit Hilo. So I lost my tent. It's a good thing I wasn't in it because it was a log about 40 feet long with about 15 inches diameter that went right through it. And so the state police decided to come down there because they didn't want people. Remember, it's all about controlling space, right? So even if you go to the state of Hawaii, Hawaiian Lands office, they'll admit, we're occupied. The enemy is occupying our islands. So you know who the enemy is by the fact that they wear the badges on behalf of who the enemy is. So you realize, in a sense, and this is not meant to lower anybody's frequency who wears a badge, who believes that the job that they're doing is on behalf of protecting those against molesters, predators, vampires, murders, kidnappers, and all the rest of that. Because there are. There's a lot of those kinds of people that join the military, believe that they're doing the right thing, right? Because they care about life, they care about you, and they're willing to put a uniform on and go into battle on your behalf, right? And so you can tie that directly into an old black and white TV series that, which was called Highway Patrol with Broderick Crawford. And he used to have a call signal called a 5150. This is 5150 to headquarters when he was with his CHP unit, right? And if you go and look at the California code on 5150, you know what a 5150 is in California? That's called a psychiatric hold. That means that a police officer, if you're doing something pretty insane or trying to self-kill yourself, or like a guy that I knew at one time that was trying to give himself a haircut with the hood of an automobile running with the blade that's going around with the radiator. Yeah. Now, if you saw somebody trying to give himself a haircut doing something like that, what would you think? So they put a 5150 hold on them, the police did. And then what happens is they get taken by escort to an emergency room, handcuffed, for a psychiatric evaluation. And then they're held in custody until they get a hearing. And if it's determined that you're not sane, then you can go into a state facility, right? So imagine how many people using the 5150 in California are doing things that is basically self-suicide by drinking poison every day, eating poisons every day. And these poisons are generated by the people that represent 5150 to headquarters. That's how bad it is. So this particular guy was a sergeant who looked like he may have been in his 50s, and he had two other younger partners with him, all wearing badges, representing state police, and they wanted to come over and talk to me. Okay, I represent the highest law. So I let him know that, and I told him that I was White Bear Clan, AB positive bloodline, and I said, I hope you realize I'm the highest authority standing right before you. Okay? You can't control the space of Mother Earth. She's the great living spirit of Mama. Okay? That's who I represent. Okay? So I work for a goddess. I represent the law of one, which is what love is. It goes on forever. That's the highest law. I'm the highest law. And you want to know what he did? He told his other two partners, this guy's right. He's the highest law right here. Okay, so I thought to myself, and this gets into, what is it, Title 26, Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is known as the law of peace, right? Well, I just call the United States military and have all these cops rounded up on this island for breaking the peace, for everything they do every day. They're looking for people in order to do what? Remember the federal regulators? The only reason they have a ticket book is, remember, rule-based functions for an AI? They want those electrons, man. So those judges that wear black robes, the only thing they're interested in is either putting you in jail to make you suffer so that your frequency is down so they can feed on that, which are known as loose bins, because they're loose eaters. And then they suck money out of you, and they get it because you'll obey the master. See, because these guys are running around with badges and guns. Those are known as gatekeepers for demons. Yeah, particularly on this island. But Honolulu's even worse. Right? So you get the picture. So, erasers. I got a delete button. That's an eraser. Okay? Now, in reference to that, it also means that if you had spiritual teachers that were sharing spiritual knowledge on how to operate a mirror, right, and an antenna in order to maintain the state of peace, the state of love, and the state of harmony. So what it basically means is you're learning how magnets, mirrors, and light works with the soul in order to keep your spirit purified, which is your shield. And when you're running a high-speed, you're putting out a booming radio station broadcast with a lot of frequencies that you're connecting with a lot of other DNA. And we're giving you love everywhere we go. So you're connecting with more antennas that are in spirit, experiencing what you are, which is what love is, with 144,000 frequencies. That's a big-ass range, baby. Have a great day. We love you all. That's called Code Talkers.